Hey, brand builder, Rory Vaden here. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this interview. As always, it's our honor to provide it to you for free. And wanted to let you know there's no big sales pitch or anything coming at the end. However, if you are someone who is looking to build and monetize your personal brand, we would love to talk to you and get to know you a little bit and hear about some of your dreams and visions and share with you a little bit about what we're up to see if we might be a fit. So if you're interested in a free strategy call with someone from our team, we would love to hear from you. You can do that at brandbuildersgroup.com/podcall, brandbuildersgroup.com/podcall. We hope to talk to you soon.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Influential Personal Brand Podcast. Super excited today to have on a fellow BBGer, a very good close personal friend, but also Elizabeth Stevens is the VP of our member experience here at Brand Builders Group. And so there's so many fun things about this exciting interview. And before I formally introduce her, I just wanted to share why I wanted to have Elizabeth onto the show today. And I think there's a couple of different things that are really important as we look forward to wherever you are in your journey or wherever you are in your year. But as you just look forward to the next 12 months, there should be some things that you are always asking yourself, such as, what should I be working on? In what order should I be working on these things? Where should I be investing my money, my time, my energy, my resources? And am I doing these things in a way that actually is going to benefit me in the end? So it doesn't matter what year, what month of the year it is. It doesn't matter where you're at in your journey. There's always things that you should be asking yourselves as you're looking ahead to those next 12 months. And so I thought having Elizabeth on the show today would be so helpful to talk about how we can do the right things, but in the wrong order. And then we're confused. And then we stale. We kind of become stale and stagnant. So that's going to be the conversation today, and a lot of fun things in between. And so as we get into this, I just want you to know that as you're listening, this is one of those conversations that is applicable universally. Doesn't matter how beginner you are, how advanced you are, doesn't matter what you're working on, why you're working on it. This is one of those conversations that has a very holistic approach. So if you're tuning in, this is a conversation for you today. So stick around and don't leave, because it's going to be well worth it to the very last second. Now, let me introduce you to the one and only Elizabeth Stevens. Elizabeth is a personal brand strategist and an expert at that. She's also the vice president of member experience here at Brand Builders Group. Whoop, whoop. I would say that she has also worked with brands extremely closely on a personal level, like a personal brand level, as well as a large corporate level, like Charles Schwab and Southwest Airlines. She's worked with New York Times bestselling authors, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs, top-ranked podcast hosts. She has done all these things, not to mention she is the founder of a nonprofit. She has helped people craft TED Talks. She has 3 amazing kids, so she does all these other things in the midst of being a mom, like all these different things. Plus, she's a speaker and an all-around amazing human being. So without further ado, Elizabeth, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I get exhausted hearing that, especially the part about the 3 kids and all that stuff, as we during the time of this podcast, it's right before the Christmas season. And as any parent knows, it is complete insanity on all fronts. So thank you.
I can relate. So I just kind of want to hit this with a couple of questions that I've been getting asked a lot here lately. We've actually been doing a lot of interviewing for new team members at Brand Builders Group. We've actually added 10 new team members to our team this year, which just feels impossible and extraordinary all at the same time. And from almost every single interview that I've had one really consistent question. And then being in our events and being a part of all the different things in our client community, I started noticing like, oh, our interview candidates aren't the only ones asking this question. So here's a question that I think is important for everyone. Why do some personal brands excel while others fall flat, right? If everyone is coming in with this mission and its passion and this message that they feel like is a calling on their heart. And they're all, and I'm just thinking about in Brand Builders Group, where they're all following a similar curriculum, a similar path, kind of. Why are some taking off like a rocket? And why do others still feel stuck in the garage?
That's such a great question. And it's one I think we ask ourselves a lot, and finally got to this point where we really realized it's all about giving them those parameters, right? It's really understanding. And you said this earlier, you referenced it at the beginning about a lot of people decide what they want to do. They make a decision. I want to be this thing. I want to create this piece of work. I want to excel in this area. But the question we often don't ask ourselves is, when do we do that thing, right? How do we create a timeline that aligns with the what, the big overarching goal that we want? And so we come into these ideas and these businesses saying, and these personal brands saying, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. But we don't ask ourselves the most important question is, when do I do the things that are going to make this happen? And I think that is one of the biggest mistakes personal brands, entrepreneurs, businesses make, is we have a good idea of the what, the passion, the purpose deep inside of us, but we have not created a timeline to where that works for us and for the people we serve very effectively.
So I know, and for all of you who are listening who don't know, but Elizabeth also holds a really special place in all of the clients' journey that we work with at Brand Builders Group, because she does annual planning calls with every single one of the clients, our members at Brand Builders Group. And so she gets to have these unique conversations of, let's reflect on the last 12 months as we plan the next 12 months. And so I imagine a lot of that feedback, those insights are coming from these calls. And so that kind of leads me to another question that you kind of mentioned. It's, we know that there's a timing and a sequence to things. And so what is that timing and sequence of things?
Yeah. One of the things that we developed and really, I think, wrapped our minds around very intentionally and specifically, even in the past year specifically, are our customer journeys, right? Really identifying the goals that people had, that what, like, this is what I'm running after. And then saying, how do we reverse engineer that goal into a timeline with parameters of knowing when to do the right thing at the right time? And you referenced this earlier too, is that so many people do the right thing, but at the wrong time, right? We're either pushing things too fast when we're not ready, or we're maybe moving a little slow when we could really aim our sights on something different. And so developing these customer journeys for our members has been really enlightening and eye-opening, and it has allowed them to achieve success so much faster, right? It's moving towards the what at the right time. And so our customer journeys that we have developed are super specific, right? It's based on that overarching goal. And like I said, it's a reverse engineering, right? If this is what you're running at, what do you need to do in the next 12 months? What do you need to do in the next 24 months, 36 months to reach this objective?
So before we talk about what these customer journeys are, I would just like for you to share in your perspective, because you're so close to the member community. So like Elizabeth, you're touching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people every single year who are out there building their personal brands. I would love to know, it's like, as we kind of delve into this customer journey, and as people are reflecting on their 12 months and they're entering into a next 12 months, what would you say are the biggest pain points of if we have these journeys and people are supposed to be following, that keyword supposed to be, what is happening there? And then on the flip side, what is happening for those people who are breaking through some of those barriers and seeing extreme success? Have you noticed any patterns regardless of journey? And we're going to step into that next, of what is working and what is not working for people building their personal brands.
Well, something just super practically speaking is that a lot of our clients and members are feeling still very diluted, right? We have a saying at Brand Builders Group, diluted focus yields diluted results. It is the biggest pain point by far that our members experience in their brand and business, right? They are wearing too many hats. They're focused on too many different ideas. They have spread themselves very thin. They are unable to get traction. And I would say that the people that I talk with that are still struggling, like they're given the right information, they have an accountability partner, they are still getting really diluted, right? They're chasing a lot of ideas. They are definitely living in the present, but with lots of distraction, where we want to really temper, yes, be where you are, because there are ramifications of moving too fast or turning around, but living in the present and being distracted by everything literally enveloping them, I see is the biggest detriment to their long-term success. There is still a little bit of diluted focus, right? And it's shiny objects. It's running after, oh, I just got this call to potentially run after this big opportunity. And it's really tempering that back and asking, is this aligned with my overarching goal? With that long-term plan that I have created for myself. If it's not, and it doesn't follow into my customer journey or trajectory, I need to know when to say no, right? There are things to say no to and to say yes to. So I think the biggest thing I'm seeing is still that chasing the shiny object that all entrepreneurs struggle with so consistently. But that, I think, is the biggest thing I'm seeing on a consistent basis in my calls.
No, I think that's so insightful. And it's interesting because we were on a call yesterday with one of our clients who's had extreme success this year with her new book, Forever Strong. Her name is Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. And I asked her, I said, hey, you've had an incredible breakthrough year. What would you say is like the number one thing that other people could do to have a breakthrough year next year? And she said, easy, become undistractable. And she was like, that's the number one thing. She goes, I encounter this with my clients, with my friends, with business partners. She goes, people are so distracted. Right. And she goes, I don't see shiny objects. I don't see squirrels. She goes, I am undistractable. And I asked her and I said, awesome. How do you do that? Right. So it's like, how do you do that? Because she also has 2 young children. I think she has a 3-year-old and a 4.5-year-old. She's got a thriving business, going through a book launch, is being booked out to speak. Her husband is a surgeon. So it's not like she's not susceptible to distraction. And she goes, it's easy. I filter all my decisions through the message that I feel called to share. And I'm like, that's so good. And she's, I'll give you a quick example. And she goes, I'm speaking at a healthcare conference this upcoming week. And she goes, personally, I don't want to do it. She goes, I don't want to be away from home. I don't want to travel to this particular location. These are not necessarily my target audience for additional revenue. It's not the speaking engagement fee that I wish I was getting. And she goes, so a lot of people are going, why are you doing it? And she goes, because I'm undistractable. And this is a part of my message getting into the right hands that can to change the world. She goes, I filter all of my decisions through what message do I feel called to share in this world? And anything that interferes with that gets a hard no, but anything that fits in that gets a quick yes, even if I don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good of like people who are seeing breakthroughs realize it happens because they have removed shiny objects. They have removed, and that was the other thing she said that I thought was so good. She goes, I don't care what anyone else is doing. I only care about what I'm doing. I don't care what other people are doing. I know there's other things I could be doing, but what I'm doing is working. So I don't care. And she was like, I've learned to not care what the industry says and what other people in my space say. I'm just focused on what I can do, what's working for me. And I filter all my decisions through the message.
That's so good. I love hearing stories like that from our clients that understand the one thing that they need to focus on, because that truly is, I mean, it's what we preach, it's what we teach, it is what we know works, right? And it's needing to be constantly reminded of that. The human brain needs to hear something 7 times for it to stick. This is no different. Like, we need to be reminding people that are running at a passion, a purpose, and a calling, that they need to stay true to the path. And something else that I have realized in these calls with our members is that it is really hard work. Like, it takes a lot from deep within you to stay the course. And I've thought about this a lot, and it comes back to this missional mindset. And I've seen this very subtle nuance between people that are successful with the mindset and people that aren't. And it's the people that aren't necessarily as successful as they want to be in their journey to building a personal brand or a business really treat it like a job or an idea. And a job and an idea you work for and you work at, right? That's the mentality. But when you are truly viewing it as a mission or a vocation, you make it work. And I think that is a big difference, right? You are so called deeply to something that you believe in, that purpose you were just speaking to, that you have to make it work. Like, it is work, and you make it happen. While this mindset of, this is my job, this is the next step for me, it's an idea I have, you just work at it, right? You chip away at it. And there's a difference there, and it makes a big difference long term in success.
That's so good. And I love that, because, like, one of the questions that I had kind of outlined earlier, which is, why do some things feel like work and others don't? And I think it's all through the filtering of, like, is this missional? Right. And I love that, like, concept of, like, is what you're doing missional, or is it just the next step? Is it just another idea of, versus, like, is this in your core what you were put on this earth to do? And are you doing it? Right. And it's like one of those things that's like, you kind of have to get to the level of, I can't not do it. Like, I can't not put this off anymore. It's like, it's just like coming out of me no matter what. And it made me think about, so often when people come to Brain Builders Group, even as podcast listeners, for everyone listening, it's like, there is like this deep down, like, knowing or calling. It's like, man, I just feel like I'm supposed to do something else. I feel like I'm called to share something, or do something more, or I just feel like there's something in me that's not being utilized. Right. It's like, we hear that all the time, which is usually how people come across our path. It's like, man, I know I'm supposed to be doing something more, something else. And I think a lot of it stems from finding that missional thing of going, like, there is that inkling, that calling somewhere within you. But let's don't be mistaken. It is work. It is work. It's not going to just magically happen because you followed your calling. It's like, no, it's work. I love that. I think that's so good. So, all right. So, talking about the work, tell us, what are these customer journeys that we've identified, and how do they work?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about customer journeys, but something really interesting leading up to this idea of why did we develop customer journeys? Why were they so important? And I just learned this recently, so it's really relevant to the conversation today. And there have been studies that show that retention, which is what we developed customer journeys for, right? This idea of, we know the journey is a journey, right? It's not a magic pill that you take, or you launch something once and you're skyrocketed to success. Like, anything that's missional, you're working for, right? You are making it work on this trajectory. But retention actually dips when your culture is really strong. Right. And so we have this strong culture at Brain Builders Group of all of these members that are in it for the same reasons. They're scrappy. They're pulling themselves up by their bootstraps with this purpose and this mission. So our culture is strong. And I read this study that says retention dips the stronger your culture gets if you don't acclimate people to the mission. And I thought that was so interesting, because that is really one of the main reasons we developed these customer journeys, was saying our culture is really strong. We know people need to stick with us, with Brand Builders Group, with what we have created for people for the long haul. Like, we believe in it that much. It's not a get rich quick. It's not come with us for a couple of months and you're set. We know it's the long game. We believe in that so much. So when our culture is that strong, we have to figure out some way to really align and acclimate people to what that looks like for them. Like, how are they implicated in that journey? Which is why we developed the customer journeys. And we really built them based around what our customers were coming to us for. It's really pretty simple, like not always easy, but very simple of what are the most of our clients, our members coming to us to build, right? What is that consistent through line? And so we developed really core 4 customer journeys. There's one around authors, because Brand Builders Group, we just get a lot of people that want to put their message into the world in written word. Like they have this desire to write a book. Sometimes it's their first, sometimes it's their second or third, but they really want to have that alignment. The next is speakers, right? We really work well with people that want to get their message into the world through voice, through the spoken word. So those are kind of 2 of our really granular customer journeys of people really wanting to reach that elevated status of getting a book into as many hands as possible and getting on big stages to spread their word and their mission. And the other 2 are lead generation, right? And so what is that? It's for mostly all of our professional services people that are in insurance, real estate. There's a replicable model with lots of potential buyers, right? It's how do you separate yourself in the market, right? We don't build businesses based around what you do. We base a brand around who you are, and that's the differentiator. And I would say a lot of our clients fall into lead generation because everyone needs leads, no matter what you're doing. If you own your business, if you're working underneath a company at a high level. And then we have new revenue streams, right? This is for the person that comes into Brand Builders Group saying, I have an idea and I want to build it out for the first time. I'm going to create a new business model, a new revenue stream that I want to put into the world. So those are the 4 typical customer journeys we see our clients really align with and fall seamlessly into.
No, I think that's one of the things that you said that's so insightful is like, categorically speaking, like this is roughly like the 4 main areas of what people come to us for. And as I sit and reflect over the last 5 years, as a part of like this joint venture and creating these, like one of the things that I was really curious about, like just in my own brain is, well, why? Like, why is it those types of people that gravitate towards Brand Builders Group, whether through social media or the podcast or as paying clients? And we have this saying at Brand Builders Group, which is, you are always most well positioned to serve the person you once were. I'm going to pause, let that sink in for all of you listening, that you are always most well positioned to serve the person you once were or currently are. And as like, I don't think it was coincidence. I don't think it's irony that the majority of the people that have found their way to us are actually who we are as people at Brand Builders Group, right? It's like, we are speakers, we are authors, we are people who at the core, every single person in our company, if they know it or not, they are salespeople. Right? It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're a strategist, you're in customer care, you're in member experience, you're in operations, like you're a salesperson, right? You're selling ideas, you're selling employee retention, you're selling services, but like that is lead generation. And then the new revenue stream, it's like, well, that's kind of like what we do every day. It's like, there's these little known fact. We're just like a bunch of little idea factories at Brand Builders Group. We have to learn the discipline of saying no more often than not. But I think it's one of those things that it's like, I bet if all of you who are listening just paused and said, if I take a really good hard look at the people that I'm serving in my current business, whether it was on purpose or on accident, I bet you would find some really common themes of characteristics of who you once were and who you are. And if you put a little bit more intentionality into actually going after those people because you know them inherently, because you are them, I bet your work would be more enjoyable, more missional, a little easier, probably even a little simpler. And I just think, like, in addition to like, this is just naturally who our people wanted. I think there was some bit of reflection of they're naturally coming because that is who we all are. And so we just naturally gravitate and understand the nuances, which kind of makes our job, again, simpler, not always easier, but it makes it simpler.
Yeah, for sure. And I think anyone thinking through creating customer journeys for their own brand and business need to take that into account. You never want to teach someone to do something you've never done yourself. I mean, that is, I think, a recipe for disaster long term. Like, we always want to be learning at always learning, but always exceeding who we're teaching, right, in that area. And I think you brought up such a good point that we are naturally attracting these members because we have done what they want to do so exceptionally well.
Now, so we've talked about the journey. So there's an author journey, a speaker journey, a journey for generating new leads, lead generation, and then a journey for that person who wants to create a brand new revenue stream, which is like starting a brand new business. But we really haven't talked about what is a journey? Like,
Right.
what is this journey? Like, tell me, like, where am I going? So tell us, like, what is a customer journey, at least through the lens of Brand Builders Group?
Yes. So in any type of membership, and Brand Builders Group is a very robust membership. So if you are a brand or a business that has something like this, where you have members paying you for information and application, you want them to leverage your membership. Like, you have spent time, effort, and energy creating courses, creating trainings, creating touch points in real life time, workshops. There's so many facets of your membership. And what leads to retention? Utilization, right? We want people taking us up on what we have to offer. And I think what we realized was we have so many great things to offer that people were going, what do we do? Where do we start? Should we take this course or not? It's all so good. And people were spreading themselves thin, even with our incredible content. It was just so good. They wanted to consume it all. And we had to really scale back and say a customer journey really increases utilization in the specific areas of which these members want to grow, right? And so when you identify goals, say you say, I want to be a paid keynote speaker and get my first paid gig in the next 6 months, 9 months, a year. Great. That's a great goal to have. Let's reverse engineer it. If that is your long-term primary focus, to be a paid keynote speaker, then you're going to be on the speaker journey. Like, that's a no-brainer. That is your long-term focus. So what does that mean? That means we are going to create year by year, quarter by quarter, exactly what you should be consuming, engaging with, people you should be meeting, workshops you need to be attending, and exactly what you need to be doing at those workshops to reach that goal, right? It's this reverse engineering, but it's super hyper specific, because we don't want you in the first 3 months to go take a podcast course. It's there. It's fun. It kind of looks shiny, but do you need that to reach your overarching goal? Right now, probably not. It's going back to doing the right thing at the right time. And so we have created a 3-year journey for our clients to really look at this 3 years in full of what are the milestones I need to be reaching and attending and using in order to get to where I want to go. So it's just a real big reverse engineering of a goal.
Yeah, I know. I love that. And I think it would be helpful for people to go, because I know that some people are going, 3 years. What on God's green earth am I going to be doing for 3 years?
What?
So I do think it's worth talking about that, but also I think it's worth talking about, it's like, I think that people often, they underestimate what can be done over the course of, say, 10 years, but they severely overestimate what can be done in the course of 1 year. And I could even say people underestimate what can happen in a year, but they overestimate what can be accomplished in 3 months. And so why would you say that the quarter, like the 90-day sprints, are important when you're looking at focus, which is what this is we're providing a benchmarked focus every 90 days. So why 90 days, or why 3 years?
Yep. So when I explain and when I show the entire customer journey for each area of focus. And I showed 3 years. Because I know anyone looking at that goes, and it's mostly, I want that to happen faster. Like, why can't this happen faster? And I think we live in a world where we want really quick wins, and quick wins aren't bad. They just have to be intentionally quick, right? Like, you can acquire a ton of quick wins and get nowhere. You really can. And so we live in this society, though, that says, do this in 20 days and you're going to have 1 million followers. And I think we understand and we value the long game, right? But when you look at 3 years, it's actually so much shorter in retrospect than even what you took to build your personal brand, or Rory. And it's, again, learning from people who have been there and done that, right? Rory has, and you have built these personal brands, and it has taken decades, right, to break through what we call Sheehan's wall, to get on the other side where people are approaching you and grabbing from you and wanting to hire you and pay you the highest fees that they can. And we have really shortened that learning curve. I mean, if you look at 10 years or 15 down to 3, it's incredible. But we also tell people, and I'm really quick to do this, look, you can go as fast as you can or as slow as you have to, which is something that Brand Builders Group teaches our clients. If you want to move faster and you have the capacity and you have a team behind you and you've got all of these things that are really aligning, you can potentially do this faster than 3 years. However, if you've got a full-time job and all these different areas of focus, and this is just something on the side that you're building long-term, you can take 5 years, you can take 8. Really, like, we are here to temper that for you. But the most important part in all of that timeline is staying hyper-focused in those 90-day sprints. A lot can be done in a quarter. Like, we think about quarters really naturally in the business world, and thinking through, how can we take our big overarching goal and create subset goals within quarters that makes it digestible and makes it doable. And not only both of those things, it makes it done well, which at the end of the day is what we really want for people, because well equals longevity.
I think that is so good. And I think that thing too that you just said, it's like, it also ensures that you do it well, right? It's like, if you're not going to do it well, why are we doing it? Because this is missional work. That is like, that's what we're here for. And, one of the things that I was just thinking to myself as you were talking is, it's like, it took us the better part of 20 years to figure out how other people could do it in 3. We might be slower than others, but it took a long time to go, why is it taking so long? Like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a simpler way to learn these things and to figure out these things. And in addition to 20 years of doing it and trying to figure out the path at Brand Builders Group, it has been 5 years of fine tuning and streamlining to not only go, how do we do it in a more succinct fashion, but how do we ensure that the order is correct? Right. And I think that's what you said. It's like, you can go faster, you can do multiple things, but why? Right. Because that's not going to ensure that you do it well. That's back to shiny object syndrome. And I do think there is a giant lesson in patience in all of this, of going, sometimes it's just not meant to be hurried.
Yep.
It's just not meant to be rushed.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're doing this level of internal work as well as external work, it needs to sit and it needs to settle, and you have to have time to process it, not check a box and move on. And I do think there is an era and an aura of speed and urgency due to technology and AI and all the other things in life, distractions. But I think there is an essence of slow down. Slow down. And it's like, slow down to speed up. And it's like, once you get that infrastructure in place, it's amazing. If you spend 3 years building the infrastructure, how quickly it can grow after 3 years. And it's like, we've seen the fruits of those labors in our clients and in our own company, as you know. And I think that so many of us, we want to hurry to the next thing, that we forget we're learning so much in the process. So don't rush the learning. Don't rush the process. Let the process be what the process is, because you're going to come out on the other end in a much better place.
Better end. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so next question I have for you is, I think, and this would just be like, in your opinion, right? In your opinion, what do you think people need to know that are listening for them to go, okay, I may not be working with Brand Builders Group as a client, but I listen to the podcast, I'm absorbing free information. So as a non-client, how do I know what journey I'm on? Like, how
Mm.
would you say that anyone who is listening, and because I think a lot of people, even in our own community, have selected the wrong journey. So it happens even in a client relationship. But how do people determine what
Mm.
is the journey that I should be on to pursue this missional work that I feel called to?
That's a really good question. And I would echo the fact that, yes, a lot of people really gravitate towards one particular journey, and I will share which one that is and why that reason is, in my own opinion, is a lot of people gravitate towards new revenue stream. And I think we look at those clients, a majority. I mean, when you look at our number of clients that have said and declared a journey, it's like declaring a major in college, right? When they've declared their journey, I think it's about 50-50, if not, 60-40. A lot of our clients are picking new revenue stream. And it's so interesting to me because we talked about this earlier. A new revenue stream is like building a brand new business. And I don't know if any of the listeners out there have ever built a business. It is exceptionally hard. When you look at a 3-year journey and you're building a brand new business, it's going to take longer than that. I can almost guarantee you. There are so many things to think about. It's a slower, revenue stream that's coming in. You have to have certain things in place to make that work in an efficient and effective way. But a lot of people think, well, I'm building a personal brand. And so that means I'm starting a new revenue stream. And that is typically not the case. And so what we often ask people to do is to step back. And we have an exercise we walk our members through called the golden grid. Even before that, like a revenue streams assessment, like that's kind of the first iteration of saying, what are all the things that you're doing right now that are making money? Could be making $10 a month, could be making $100,000 a month. I don't care. I want you to list them all out, right? And then I want you to tell me how much time you're spending on all of these things. And then I want you to tell me how stressful they are on a scale of 1 to 5. And then I want you to tell me how much future potential these things have on a scale of 1 to 5. It seems so simple, and it is. But looking at that document and saying, oh man, there are things on here that I'm doing that have no future potential and bring me excessive amounts of stress. It really helps you identify opportunities and things that you need to get rid of. And so once you're starting to look at that, you might think to yourself, like I'm speaking a lot for free and I really love it. And I've got like a really great opportunity to grow that piece of my business. I can create courses or I can, start a podcast. I like to think of it as majoring and minoring. Like I'm majoring in keynote speaking because it brings me a lot of joy. I don't have to spend a ton of time on it. It could potentially bring me a lot of money in, and it's not a high stress for me. Like I'm already doing it. Like I should continue to roll in that direction. Doesn't mean I can't create a course. Doesn't mean I can't start a podcast. Those are just things that are not taking all of my time, effort, and energy. I don't need to create something new. And same for lead generation. Like most people should focus on lead gen. They already are driving people to something naturally. I think 90% of our clients either are driving them to something that already exists, something they've built, or to their business that currently already exists. Why are we not pumping wind into our biggest billowing sail? Why is it always our natural inclination to hoist another sail up and hope that wind goes in that direction?
So true. So true.
Right? Right. And so it's just thinking through, like taking a big assessment of what we're already doing, but knowing that things are already working for us. Like there is typically something already in the mix. And how can we double down on that and build something, then start something totally new from scratch? So I think it's just this mindset thing and really identifying and taking inventory of and level setting of where we are.
No, I think that's really insightful. And you said something that I kind of want to like come back to, which is people naturally associate building a personal brand with starting some sort of new revenue stream. And that's not what a personal brand is. And I think people are associating a personal brand with a business model.
Yes. So
right.
good.
And a personal brand is not a business. It's not what you do. It's not what makes you money. A personal brand is who you are. It's like, and that extends universally over all things you do, not a thing you do. I think that kind of comes back to like one of our core beliefs at Brand Builders Group, which is if you're asking, do I need a personal brand? You're asking the wrong question because you already have a personal brand. You just may not know it, right? It's like we all have a personal brand because in our world, that is just, it's the formalization, digitization, and monetization of your reputation, right? But we all have a reputation. Some of us like the one we have. Some of us don't even know the one we have, right? But it's like, we all have a reputation, right? If you just sit, she's sitting there and ask yourself, what do people think of when they think of me? That's your reputation. And that in the essence is also your public personal brand. The art of personal branding is putting intention behind it, of going, I can influence this by what I talk about, my research, where I spend my time, what I post about, what I do, where I put my money, how I organize my calendar. It's like, I actually can influence how others view me and what they associate with by where I choose to spend my time, energy, money, and resources. Like you get to do that. But that takes time, effort, energy, resources, and attention, which is the art of personal branding. And I think that is where people get confused and they come and they go, okay, I'm ready to build my personal brand. I'm going to launch X, Y, and Z. And it's like, why? Why are you doing that? You don't have to do that. You don't actually need to do that. In fact, you should not do that. Instead, it's like we need to put fuel and ammunition behind what you already have.
Right.
Right? How do we help more people learn about what you're doing? Now, if you don't have anything, well, then of course that makes sense. But I think that is a great distinction that you made, is like people get caught up with, oh, I'm building my brand, so I have to start something new. And that's just not true.
It is not true. And I would say the other thing is that people in that same vein will often say, gosh, I need to put my personal brand on hold because I really need to pay attention to my business. And that blows my mind all the time. I'm like, what do you mean? Like your personal brand is literally your business. Like you are driving people to your business, because we know at the end of the day, people don't do business with products, services, marketing companies. People do business with people, right? And so when people always say, gosh, I need to take time to really focus on my business, I'm like, what do you mean? Like you are doing that right now, and you're doing it more successfully than most everyone around you by building a personal brand that builds trust. And so that is a big like external facet of what you're talking about now.
Oh my gosh, you just reminded me of, I've heard this quote 100 times, but Rory and I just did a weekend long goal planning session for the next 12 months of our life. And it got us thinking of like, how many people actually take 2 days of every year and plan what the next year is going to look like. And he reminded me of this quote that we heard when we were engaged, and our, marital counselors that we had leading up to our wedding said, I just want you to remember this and never forget it, is that most people spend more time planning their wedding than they do their marriage. And most people spend more time planning their annual vacation than they do their life. So what you're doing right now is putting intention into your marriage. And I would encourage that your marriage be more important than your wedding, and your life be more important than your vacation. And that stuck with us so clearly. And so ever since then, we've done these 2 days, just me and him, for a weekend of going, what do we want our family to look like? And what do we want our business to look like? And what does my faith walk look like? And as you were talking, it made me think, it's like, there's a great parallel to that with what you just said, is that people spend more time working on their business than they do on what I would call their reputation, which is with you for a lifetime. It's with you for a lifetime. And it's like, do we ever spend time, potentially, everyone listening, on the wrong things? Like, do we? I do. I know I do. And
Sure.
I think it's one of those things of going, it's not an either or, it's an and. But by working on yourself, you're always working on your business.
It's really
And
good.
by working on your dreams and your goals and finding something that fills your cup, it impacts everyone around you positively. Generational change comes from, I have found my purpose.
Mm.
I am living into my work, right? My work has become my ministry. And then it doesn't feel like work anymore. And
Mm.
so if you're going, I'm working on my business, maybe the question should be, is that what I really should be working on?
Right. So good. Really good. I love that.
All right, Elizabeth. If people are asking themselves a question of, okay, well, if I do have this personal brand, maybe I should do something about it. Where should people go to learn more about Brand Builders Group? And specifically, it's like if you heard something that resonates today about, man, I do have a calling to speak on stages one day, or I'll publish your book, or, I do want to figure out how to more organically generate leads for my business based on who I am and who I want to work with, or maybe I am in this unique stage where it's like, it's time to expand my revenue stream and add something. Where should people go to learn about that?
A great question. If you go to freebrandcall.com, you can put in a request for what we call a brand strategy call. These are complimentary, they're about an hour long, and our strategists will really help identify these opportunities for you. They'll learn a little bit about your goals and what you're looking to do with a personal brand. They'll answer some questions around that, and they will do it all through the lens of the customer journeys we talked about. So your customer journey conversation can start on one of these complimentary free brand calls with our team. So it's freebrandcall.com.
I love that. And if people want to connect with you, your awesome self, where should they go to connect with you?
Yes. Well, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Elizabeth Stevens with a PH. I always have to differentiate that. I married into a name, which is so easy, but I have to tell people how it's spelled. Or you can follow me on Instagram. It's at EAS2883. You're going to see a lot of my work life and my home life and all of the fun things that happen there. But I would love for you to follow me both places.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining in us today. And for those of you who don't know, Elizabeth actually was a part of our team prior to starting Brand Builders Group. She's been a part of the founding team and an integral part of every single move, pivot, shake up, shake down that we've had since we launched this. And we're so honored that you are the face of our community. We love you. We're so grateful for you. Thank you for being on today. And for everyone else, stay tuned for the recap episode, which will be coming up next. We'll see you next time.